Today's topic is future tense, and there is a reason why tense is in the inverted commas, and I'll tell you about that shortly. So time or tense, it's very often used in weird ways, and the correct grammar term for it is tense, but sometimes even teachers use time to make it easier to understand. If we are talking about time or tense, we often talk about the past, the present or the future. But if you Google English tense or chart English tense, you will find very many different lists and charts and I don't know what, and it seems to be very, very complex. This is one of the most complex ones I found. You can see that there are so many different combinations of English tenses you can make. But on the other hand, it also says here in the green box that 80% of the time only these three are used. So it's a good strategy to know these three well: the past, the present, and the future. So the present and past tense are usually marked on the main verb. You have seen verbs like this before. And here I will have highlighted the endings, so you can see that in the present tense you have the third person singular s, and in the past you have the same ending on all the verbs. You have just I, you, he, she worked. Funnily enough, if you want to know more about English, the present tense in Middle English was not as simple as it is now. There were actually endings on every single of the person number combinations, but they have disappeared and we only kept the third person s. So of course you don't have to remember this, but it's interesting to know that the same way we have it now in Spanish or German, English had the same thing, but it lost it over time. So this was past and present, but future looks a little different. There is nothing on the main verb. I will work, you will work, he will work. The work is still the same. And that's why it doesn't behave the same as the present tense and the past tense. It's not technically a tense. It's future something. So let's say we are expressing future. We are talking about future events, and we can use at least these four options. We can use will plus verb, as we had in the table before, be going to, or present progressive, or simple present. And I will go through them one by one to explain how to use them correctly. So will plus verb is the most neutral way of expressing future. It is usually connected to some expectation or prediction. And it looks like this. I will call you tomorrow. I plan to call you. It will be fine. I do think it will be fine. The taxes will increase in the future. It's my prediction that the taxes will increase. Or it's an expectation. Here it's important to remember that skall is not the same as shall. It is tempting because it's similar, but it's not the same. Skall can almost never be translated as shall into English. And shall is used mainly in the British English, and it's only rarely used in American English. And most importantly, it is used only with the first person, I or we, with only one exception I know of. So it is very restricted, so you cannot use shall in the same way you use skall in Norwegian. And here are some examples. It can be used for giving advice or suggesting something. Shall I call the doctor? Are you feeling ill? Or shall we talk about it tomorrow? I'm suggesting we don't waste time now. Shall we talk about it tomorrow instead? And both of these uses are much more frequent in British English than in American. So in case your first choice is American English, you should not use shall very much. And the second option to use shall is for emphasis or a threat. I shall not give up. I'm stressing that very much, that I'm not going to give up. Or the threat, you shall regret this. That means that I will make sure that you are going to regret that. It is clearly a threat, so unless you mean to threaten someone, you should not use shall with you or he. You can see that the you is not the first person, it's the second person, but this is a threat. And in most cases, skall should be translated as will instead. So skall, will, not shall. If I say han skal ikke si det til noen, he's not going to say it to anyone. You can translate it as he will not tell anyone. However, if you said he shall not tell anyone, you are basically suggesting that you are going to murder this person. You are going to make sure that he shall not speak about what he heard. While he will not tell anyone, it's just saying that you trust him and he will not spread the information. So the difference is actually quite important here. Your life can depend on that. And similarly, you cannot use will and will in the same way either. Sometimes it can be translated as the same, but only in the cases where there is some desire to do something in the future, because will in Norwegian is always connected to desire. But if you want to use it as in English as will, it has to be desire in the future. For example, I will help you with that. I want to help you and will do it in the future. And in most cases, will should actually be translated as want to into English. For example, I want to leave now is not the same as I will leave now. I want to leave should be jeg vil gå nå, while I will leave should be jeg skal gå nå. So will goes to skal, and will in Norwegian goes to want to. However, we have other ways to express future as well. For example, with be going to plus a verb. And this is usually used to talk about plans in the future, something that is likely to happen. I don't know if the taxes will increase, so I say the taxes will increase. If I'm the Prime Minister, I can say the taxes are going to increase because I'm going to do that. In spoken English, be going to is very often reduced to gonna. But you should not use this in writing. It's a very, very spoken expression. And here we have some examples. I am going to study English at the university. I do plan to. I have already sent my application. If you place the glass at the edge of the table, it is going to fall. I know the gravity. It is going to fall if you place it at the edge. And this can also be used about plans in the past. You just have to use the correct helping verb. So for example, yesterday she said she was going to come. I'm referring to something she said yesterday, and yesterday she was planning to come. She might have not come now, but it was her plan in the future. And I just used helping verb in the past, was instead of is. Another way to express future is with the present progressive. You can talk about plans and events in your future by just using the present progressive. But it has to be something that is likely to happen. For example, I'm flying to London tomorrow. I have the ticket, my bag is packed, and I am flying. You can also use the simple present, but it should be used about future events that do not depend on the speaker's will. It should be something that's planned by someone else. For example, the exams start tomorrow. I'm talking about tomorrow. It is expressing the future, but I'm using the simple present tense. The exams start tomorrow. I did not plan them. It doesn't depend on me. They will happen whether I'm there or not. Or the train leaves at 5 p.m. The train will leave whether I'm at the station or not. It doesn't depend on my will. And now we're going to look at an exercise.